Peace, party people. Welcome to Boxing Equals Success with Best Pugilist. Let's get to it. All right. Let's get into this week's. This is my first opportunity to speak about this week's ends event of the big mega fight between the unified welterweight champion Erroll Spence Jr. and the WBO welterweight champion, my #1 pound for pound fighter, Terrance "Bud" Crawford. Now, although I had Spence in the fight, I want to make that clear that Bud has been my #1 pound for pound fighter since the retirement of Andre Ward. But I want to congratulate Bud on his magnificent, stellar performance and showing truly, without a question and any shadow of a doubt, that he is the #1 pound for pound fighter in the world. But we have to speak on the elephant in the room. What was wrong with Erroll Spence? And this is not to take anything away from what Bud Crawford did, because he did exactly what he was supposed to do. He prepared for the best Erroll Spence, and he utterly dismantled the worst Erroll Spence, as he was supposed to do. But it's unfortunate for the boxing fans that it went down like that. And we didn't get to see the truly classic boxing match that we had so long anticipated between two fighters of such enormous talent and ability. Now, a lot of people are saying, for those of us who have picked Spence in that fight, you're making excuses and so on and so forth. It's not truly excuses when, if you're a true boxing enthusiast, and you've been watching Erroll Spence Jr. throughout his career, you clearly know that brother wasn't at his best. Now that's his fault, you know. He may have overstayed he clearly has overstayed his time in the welterweight division. But as I was just explaining to one of my bros, maybe about a half an hour ago, it's a calculated risk. Now I'm hearing there's some other rumors and some things going around the rumor mill, as always, when something like this happens. And it was asked of me, well, if he wasn't 100% right, why would he take the fight? A number of reasons you still go into a fight like that. One, simply put, the money. These guys are making generational, life-changing money. It's not the type of thing you so easily walk away from. Two, could you imagine how Erroll Spence would have been crucified had he pulled out of that fight for any reason other than him having a fatal disease or something, the fans wouldn't have stood for it. They wouldn't have stood for it. So, you know, with that being said, it's just unfortunate, man, that he couldn't bring his best to the table. And I really do feel that, you know, we kind of got robbed of what could have been a true classic. And it was going to be a tough fight either way. I never expected either one of them to blow one another out. I figured it was going to be a good to great matchup with the two top guys on my pound for pound list doing what they do and giving their best effort and really, you know, bringing their expertise to the table, you know. But with that said, there's still some serious things of concern about what took place there with Spence. And there's a lot of issues there, a lot of things that have to be looked at in terms of his preparation and his mental state going into the fight. I have my concerns, you know, but I figured as much that he would be able to overcome the difficulty, and I was hoping that he would be able to give at least one more good welterweight performance before he finally was going to move up, as he's, you know, been speaking on in recent years. You know, he did the majority of his career as an amateur at 147, but he actually turned pro. A lot of people may not realize this unless you're a true boxing fan or enthusiast. He actually turned pro at junior middleweight, and then they worked him down to welterweight to go after those titles first. So it's really not far-fetched to say that he's been struggling with the weight for years. Because he, honestly speaking, he should have came and went straight to the junior middleweight division and then the middleweight division. But they chose to go the other route, needless to say, you know. They chose to go that other route. And unfortunately, finally it caught up to him. But you know, that's that. With that being said, it's a serious contention as to whether he should have even been fighting with such a struggle to make the weight. Now, people saying, you know, people going to have their opinion, but you know, I have buddies who actually went to the fight, and they was like, as they was leaving, they actually heard people. I was wondering what happened to Erroll, because that was not the Erroll Spence they were accustomed to seeing. Crawford, on the other hand, magnificent. He was prepared to perfection. Razor sharp. That's what you want to do. You want your fighter prepared that when he walks through those ring ropes, just that as he passed that last ring, that last rope, that's when the final sharpness is done and going into that fight. So much was in his favor. The just everything, the whole the whole atmosphere, the biorhythms of the fights was just in his favor, everything, you know. And it was just set up in a way for him just to perform magnificently, and he did. And mind you, although I was picking Spence, you know, I knew it was going to be tough either way, but I figured with his size and his overall skill and acumen, and contrary to popular belief, you know, there's this big myth going around that he's one-dimensional. That kid is not one-dimensional. I said it before, and I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to say it continuously. You cannot, and I repeat, you cannot make the United States Olympic boxing team, and you cannot box. Doesn't happen. You have to have, at the bare minimum, adequate fundamental boxing skills to make that team. Because you're going to come across guys from the East Coast, West Coast, South, Midwest, all of which have different styles of boxing. Now, he just chooses to have fought in that way in the latter half of his career because him being a naturally bigger guy and a bigger welterweight, he was able to use his strength along with his skill, and it's been effective all until that one night. So I really believe that he can redeem himself and give a better performance in the rematch at 154. I think he'll be a far superior fighter, close to what he was at his best from 54 up to 160. And this rematch is not going to be the blowout that everybody seems to think that it's going to be. Anybody who truly knows boxing history knows this isn't the first time that we've seen a great fighter get beat, and then everybody thinking that guy's done, and the guy that beat him would do it again easily. I've seen it over and over again in my years in the sport. From Muhammad Ali getting beat by Joe Frazier in the fight of the century, and many people thinking Ali could never beat him, to Sugar Ray Leonard getting beat by Roberto Duran in the brawl in Montreal and coming back. He made the subtle change. Now, this is what you're going to hear. This is what you're going to hear most people's going to contend that he can't make that type of, I heard some fool actually say, oh, he's too far gone in his career to make that type of change. He said the same exact thing when he fought Mikey Garcia. And he gave him a boxing clinic. You can't compete in that ring, period, without being your physical best. And if you're not your physical best, you're just not going to perform. Even against the most inadequate competition, let alone the consensus pound for pound boxer in the planet. It's just not going to happen. So he's just going to take some time off, regroup, get his health back fully, and just go into it with the mindset that he has had predominantly for most of his career. And I'm sure he's listening to everything. He sees everybody clowning him. Everybody's making emojis. He's hearing people saying he's done. I saw some brother, I don't really know his name, but he was from Dallas, saying how people turned on him already down in Dallas, you know. And I was like, wow, if that's true, that's crazy. But I anticipate him to come back and give a far more competitive performance. But he could still lose. But I think he can turn it around and pull it out, you know, at that bigger weight. Because I feel like, you know, Terrance, this there, 54 would probably be the top weight in which he could go and perform, like similar to how he performed the other night. But it's going to be interesting. The biggest disappointment in this is Spence's condition. You know, because in boxing, there always was and there always will be a thing called being overtrained. And I know it because I experienced it when I was fighting. Matter of fact, that fight I have up on my channel of me, I took that fight on short notice. And I had to drop a lot of weight in a short period of time. And it always takes a lot of energy out of you, you know. But that's my biggest, you know, disappointment. And to hear people act like that had no bearing on the fight, you know, makes me think of the words of the late great Roger Mayweather. Most people don't know shit about boxing, because there's no way you could be truly invested into this sport and not know that kid wasn't at his best performance. That's the worst I've ever seen him look in his career. The first text I got when he walked into the ring, and I can remember it like it was yesterday, at exactly 11:28 p.m. from one of my bros. He liked both of them. He wasn't really fully voting, but he slightly was Terrance Crawford. But the first text I got, Erroll Spence, something don't look right with Erroll. And I was saying the same thing. I was just hoping, as I was telling my bro a few days before the fight, after we saw that Frank Martin fight, I had a real concern about the possibility of him being overtrained. When I saw how Frank Martin looked, and he was stale, real stale, and he looked overtrained, and I was even wondering if he maybe had a heat stroke or something, because that happened with this fighter I used to be an assistant trainer to, named John Duddy, this Irish kid me and my partner had. And I remember that happened to him. And he was training in the heat and caught like a heat stroke and was overtrained, and his punches didn't have any snap on them like they normally did. And training out in that 110 degree heat, obviously it clearly caught up to him, you know, and they miscalculated dearly where he needed to be to have success in this fight. That weight cut is a delicate science. Delicate science. You have to be precise in cutting that weight to be at your optimum best. And I say all of this not taking anything away from Terrance Crawford. Because when people hear this, they think, oh, you're trying to take away from his victory. No, I'm not. I'm not trying to take anything away from his victory. You can't. He did his half of the fight. He did what he was supposed to do. But nevertheless, it does not change the fact that his opponent was not at his best and couldn't give his maximum performance in the biggest fight of his career. So, you know, I just wanted to, you know, get back on here and just deal with the elephant in the room. Like, what was wrong with Erroll Spence? Clearly he was overtrained, weight drained. That's why he had no punch resistance. He had never been knocked down in his career. And now he's going down from punches that he normally would have ate for breakfast. That first knockdown with the 2-1, he had no business going down from that. No punch resistance at all. No snap on his punches. You heard Terrance Crawford say in the interview after that, when he landed a punch on him, like, that's it? Or you're going to be in for a long night. So people can try to deny it all they want to, and it's all right to be a fan of any particular fighter, but let's keep it a buck. Spence wasn't right, and that's not taking nothing. I'm gonna say it again, that's not taking nothing away from Crawford, because he got himself prepared to do exactly what he did. He prepared for the best Erroll Spence, and he destroyed the worst Erroll Spence, as he should have. As he should have. But I'm sure Erroll Spence has always been a solid brother, and I'm sure he's taking it on the chin well. You know, he's even finding humor in some of this. But I know it's going to motivate him to get back in there and give a far better performance in that rematch. You got some fools out here saying, "Oh, he don't deserve a rematch." Yes, he do. Yes, he do, because he had more belts, and he negotiated that in his contract. This is why him and his team did that. He only negotiated a rematch clause because it's the right business to do. And when you're going up against somebody as good as Terrance Crawford, you have to cover yourself. So when he went to the table and they came together to make that happen, this is what they agreed to do. So I don't care how bad he looked in that fight. He deserves to get that rematch, because he didn't have to take that fight. But he wanted to dare to be great. And he went out there. And I know he probably realized he didn't feel his best, but he was obligated to do what he had to do. He signed the contract. So I expect that, he's a proud brother. And the humiliation of what he experienced. Most great fighters, that's truly great fighters, when they experience a real harsh, debilitating loss, it starts another fire in them for the great ones. And I think Spence is a great fighter, and it's gonna motivate him to go back to the drawing board and do some things, to get a chance to really compete at his best. And you ain't got some faux doctor out here. You don't even know if you're a real doctor out here talking about he done sustained brain damage from the car accident. He ain't even Erroll Spence's doctor. That car accident had nothing to do with what happened that night. He just got his ass thrashed by the better fighter that night. Because if he was going to have any results from that car accident, it would have happened when he first came back against the hard-punching Danny Garcia. Or in that fight with Ugas. You ain't see no signs of it. So stop trying to bring that up now. He just was overtrained and got thoroughly outclassed by the far superior fighter that night. And he couldn't do anything to stop it, because physically, he just didn't have enough in him to do it. All he had was heart. That's the only thing he had when he walked in that ring. He walked out with his heart. But I expect him to be better prepared. He'll learn from it. And he'll come out and give a much better performance. Whether he wins or not is another thing. But I'm giving him a real chance to win it, though. Although a lot of people thinking he don't stand a chance, I do. I think he still has a chance to pull off a victory. It's going to be tough, just like I thought it was going to be tough this fight. I didn't think it was going to be a walk in the park. But I thought his overall skill set and size at welterweight would play. But I think it's going to come more to play actually in this junior middleweight clash that they're going to have. And what it looks like it's going to be in December. But we'll have to see. We'll wait and see. But I look forward to it. I'm expecting him to get himself healthy, get his mind right, be motivated to come back and give her a much more redeeming performance than he gave that night, if nothing else. And I think as boxing fans, we deserve that as a fan. Because having been a fighter myself, I know when you go in that ring, all you have is your reputation. And his reputation took a serious hit right now. And I remember reading that as well in the late great Sugar Ray Robinson's autobiography, and he also spoke on that. As a fighter, that's all you really have, is your reputation. And people will respect you if you give your best effort, even if you lose. And I expect him to come and give a far better effort in this rematch. You know? Because a lot of people, they don't want to see you do well. They don't want to see other people do well. But they, in that type of comeback, there's a lot of inspiration to get people to understand, even at your lowest, you can come back and do better. And I really expect as much from Erroll Spence Jr. Terrance Crawford, he the man right now. Again, he continues to be the man and has clearly proven that he is worthy of that #1 spot, pound for pound. What's going on over here? Yeah, clearly. So, pardon me. I thought I saw something that wasn't looking right and exact. Yeah, but yeah. So, with that said, man, that's my take on the fight. I certainly anticipated a much better performance by Spence Jr. And you know, I knew Crawford was going to bring what he brought. He brought his end of the bargain. So, you know, with that said, we just got to look forward to the rematch because it's coming whether y'all like it or not. Unless some unfortunate thing happen between now and then to prevent either one of them being able to fight. Pray that doesn't happen, you know? And hopefully we'll get that rematch and it'll be far better than what we witnessed Saturday night with just that showcase of Crawford showing his ability and showcase in a pretty much glorified sparring session. And with that said, I'm out. Until next time, on Boxing Equals Success with Best Pugilist. Enjoy the rest of y'all evening. Out.